Yay. Okay. So, the first thing I wanted to do is go over what we always start our lighthearted part is what are your guys' favorite quotes or special moments from this section of the book, which or it can go all the way back to chapter one. So basically chapter one to the end of chapter 15. And then I'm gonna put y'all in alphabetical order because we all know I mess it up every single time. Okay, there we go. All right, we are set. So we will start with, if you don't mind, Karen, can we start with you?
Yes. I liked one that was in chapter. I like have notes all in my book. So I can't remember what it was. The chapter. Chapter 9. And it was Linus talking to Arthur, and he said, um, because people aren't black and white, no matter how hard you try, you can't stay on one path without diversions. And that doesn't mean you're a bad person.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. That's a really good one. Thank you. How about you, Jameson? Did you, I know you're listening to it audibly. Did you have anything that stood out to you or like a special moment that you like got hit in the feels?
I actually had two quotes that I had to like go back and replay it so that I could write them down because I liked them so much. One was when they said, "It's not fair the way some people can be, as long as you remember, as long as you remember to just be kind, like I know that you are, what those people think won't matter in the long run. Hate is loud, but I think you'll learn it's because it's only a few people shouting, desperate to be heard. You might never be able to change their minds, but so long as you remember you're not alone, you will overcome."
I love that. Linus said that to Sal. Oh, I
And
love that.
and then I can't remember, but the mayor, when she was in the ice cream shop, she said, "We get trapped in our little bubbles, and even though the world is a wide and mysterious place, our bubbles keep us safe from our bubbles keep us safe to our own detriment." She sighed, but it's so easy because there's something about routine. Day in, day out, it's always the same. When we're shaken from that, when the bubble bursts, it can be hard to understand all that we missed. We might even fear it. Some of us even fight to try to get it back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when the bubble bursts, you get in your own spot of discomfort. Something about the bubble is really comfortable. Yeah, that's a really good. I really liked the mayor, by the way. I liked the
Yeah.
vibe. How about you, Emily? I think you're muted. Sorry.
Sorry, I lost my button there for a second.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the big ones was in chapter 14, where it's repeated again that hate is loud. I think especially kind of where we are in the world right now, I think that's a very important thing to remember that, being loud is not necessarily always the best, and it's certainly not always received the best. And it can get really hateful really quickly if we insist on always being loud. So,
You're right. You're right. It is true. It's hard to remember in heated positions that it's true. How about you,
mhm.
Melody?
Okay, this iPad's not cooperating. Um, I liked any moment where the kids really attach themselves to Linus, like when they're on their adventure and Talia holds his hand, when Sal has him help move the desk, especially Sal, like him opening up. That really got to me. And I'm not even a kid person, like, but just knowing that these children have gone through what they went through and trusting someone that they wouldn't normally trust.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
when Lucy gives him the record player or has Arthur give him the record player,
yeah.
just all of those. And, the quotes that everybody's mentioned. I love this book so much.
I do too. I do too. It has so many layers, and so many of them speak to people who have often found themselves feeling marginalized, or in a way they have to have walls up. I really relate to Sal in that way, and how hard it is to let him down. And I see him doing that, and it's just so sweet. He's become vulnerable, and even Theodore has shown vulnerability, and it's just so cute. And so it's just it's great. How about you, Udi?
So I'm also on the audiobook. So I didn't write anything down, but when Lucy talks about his adventure and how everybody wants to be bad, and he goes, well, maybe that I'll just betray you all again and be good. And then he just goes, ew, no, that doesn't sound right. And that just made me laugh hella hard. I thought that was great.
Oh,
Oh,
he is.
girl, I have 7 rats, by the way. These are just the girls wanting to
Oh,
come out. I have 2 boys in the bottom. Uh,
so cute.
and then the other comment, when Sal opens up and they move the typewriter, and um, how Arthur mentions to Lioness about, you know, hearing weird sounds coming from Sal's thing, and he goes, well, he is a teenager, and da 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 da, and he's just like, I meant the clacking of the keys
I
and his
know.
typewriter, and that made me laugh too.
I
But
know.
when Sal opened up about the different foster homes and being adopted, it really hit me hard in the feels because I, fortunate enough, was only like 6 months old before I made it to my forever family. And I went through like 2 foster homes, I think, prior. But all of my siblings have been through multiple, and it made me really sad to think about what they have been through, and that really stuck to me, and it made me happy that he latched on and finally opened up. But when he turns into a Pomeranian, that shit cracks me up.
Oh, it's so cute because the
It's
Pomeranians are
adorable.
so tiny, little yappy, and he's not that way. I would
No.
expect him to turn into like a Rottweiler or something, but he turns into this itty bitty thing, and it's just precious. And the way that he connects with animals, and he's always protecting and holding Theodore. It's just he's a very endearing character. He's my second
Hmm.
favorite character. So anything with him really, I don't know. He's special.
And then I also really like it whenever Talia says, "Oh, you're round. You look. I like it. You're round like me."
Yes, I love that. There's like a pride and a compliment in it, and I think that and like a camaraderie with it, which is really cool to see it represented in a book. It's rare. Usually it is shunned upon, and like they
Hmm.
found a way of like making it okay. Even Arthur says to him, I like you just the way you are, like with his little spare tire. Um,
Yep, that was my next quote when
yes,
they were talking, like, I like you just the way you are. Spare
it's
tire and all.
you're right, Emily. His inner self is a Pomeranian, and it comes out in his disposition. He's just a big guy with a deep voice, and it's interesting. How about you, Robin? Did you have any that stood out to you? I know you had to listen to a little bit of on Audible as well.
I listened to a little bit and I actually went back and like reread uh a lot of the stuff that I was listening to because I wanted to like mark the quotes and like look at all my little note things. Like I'm not organized, and
I
and
did too.
so I was like, oh, I'm so organized this week. Like I'm so proud of myself. So I had I will so my first quote was from chapter 9, and it's when Lucy tells like that whole big story just so he can make a joke. And then he says humanity is so weird. If we're not laughing, we're crying or running for our lives because monsters are trying to eat us, and they don't even have to be real monsters. I was like, I feel you. And then I just want to let you know that on page whatever it was, so page 180, when Arthur first talks about the Phoenix, I was like, Arthur is the Phoenix, and I put a sticky mark there, and I was like, Arthur is the Phoenix.
Yeah, mind blown.
Yeah, I was like,
I knew it was going to be something very rare and I knew it was going to be something very powerful, but that was not what I expected. You guys know I was like on the whole vampire thing, thinking something
yeah,
like that, but the Phoenix makes so much more sense. And then
yeah,
also the trauma he experienced really made me understand why he's so wonderful with
yeah,
children. Yeah, I agree.
yeah. I had a couple more. So one of them was Fee, who says, um, not something out of nothing. It was just hidden away. I knew what to look for because I listened for it. As long as you listen, you can hear all manner of things you never thought were there to begin with.
That
And
was
I
my
was like,
quote. That was one I chose. I love
yes.
that.
Oh, I missed that one. Yes. So I love that one. And then I had the hate one. And then when Linus is picking up his records, Lucy's records, and he says, when something is broken, you can put it back together. It may not fit quite the same or work like it did once before, but that doesn't mean it's no longer useful. That one really hit me. And then I had one more. When Helen says, a home isn't always the house we live in, it's also the people we choose to surround ourselves with. You may not live on the island, but you can't tell me it's not your home. And then she says, your bubble, Mr. Baker, it's been popped. And I was like, oh,
I know. And he calls at home a couple times, like to Zoe, and they're out and about, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, let's go home." He's
yeah,
he's starting to see it as a place of safety, even though it's not his home, but it's just, yeah, you can see him changing. How about you,
yeah,
Stephanie?
So I absolutely love Sal, and I thought it was so cute when they were in the ice cream shop and Sal turns into the Pomeranian and gets stuck in the clothes. But then Helen is like, you can go change in the bathroom. And Linus was talking him through it. It was just really sweet. And I also adored Chauncey because he gets so excited about the bellhop hat that he got. It's so cute. He just loves wearing it. That's endearing too. And I also did have a quote where Linus is talking to Arthur about what Lucy's been through, and he says, hope. Mr. Parnassus repeated, because that is what we must give him, what we must give all of them hope and guidance and a place to call their own, a home where they can be where they are without fear of repercussions. I thought that was really, that hit me in the feels because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's such a good person.
Oh, he's a beautiful person. He's my
Yeah.
favorite character, but I think that derives from him taking his pain and like transforming it into something good. I find that really, really admirable. My other thing that I really loved about Chauncey, and he's writing his report to document it, and he says he dreams. And although they may be what people would think would be a small dream, like being a bellhop, they're his though. And he's passionate about them and he believes in them. And like, it's just so powerful how he's overcoming this enormous obstacle of adversity of people thinking he's a monster and want to work with the public and help them. And like, he aspires to do that. It really shows that something happened there that changed him from believing he was a monster so much that he hides under beds to wanting to work with the public and help people. Like, you can just see the transformation. So he's adorable, absolutely adorable. Um, yeah, they all are in their own way. I wanted to start in with some of your guys' questions, and Robin um, wanted to know, what do you think Linus's childhood was like, and how do you think that has contributed to the way he has been living his life? And we'll start with Stephanie.
Sorry, I was having issues with that. What was that again?
Oh,
Sorry.
it's okay. So basically, Robin was wondering what you thought Linus's childhood was like, and how do you think that has contributed to the way he's been living his life?
So I'm starting to think that Linus kind of had it rough because he was saying that his mom, you know, I forget what it was, but he was chastised for something.
Hmm.
And I think that has actually contributed to why he wants rules and regulations. This has to be set like this. This has to be set like this. Because he seems very militarized
Hmm.
in a way. And then you said the second part was how it affects him.
How's it contributed to like his life, which you kind of answered, meaning
Yeah.
like he's obsessed with the rules and regulations. I think maybe he finds comfort there because his
Yep.
mom's so rigid. Like
Yep.
I was kind of on the same page with that. The second part was about Linus as well. And I wanted to ask and see what you thought. It says there's a lot about how Linus will have to return to the city when he's done with the assignment. Do you think he can or will stay or that he will return? Why or why not?
So I really think that he is going to go to Dicomie and he's going to have it out with them. But I think he's going to return because him and Arthur seem to be like they're in love with each other. And he loves those kids.
Yeah, I have the same feeling. I'm almost wondering if he just doesn't leave, but I'm curious to see. How about you, Robin? For your first part of your question, what do you think attributed from his childhood to his current life?
So I think that I think he also had it rough. I think maybe there might even have been some like abuse there, maybe even just like verbal abuse. And maybe that's why he is not like he's lived alone. Like he is kind of like if that whole kind of idea of like if these are these are the people or this is the person, like I'm not really sure what happened to his dad. Maybe he just I don't think it says anything about his dad, but maybe like he's like, well, you know, if this is how people who love me treat me, then maybe it's not worth having relationships because, you know. So that was kind of like why I asked that question, because I kept it made my wheels turn every time they would talk about like these things when he was growing up.
I
Um,
agree. I agree. And do you think he'll go back? Do you think he'll be able to leave?
so I think he'll go back because I think he's not quite ready to give up the idea that he's doing what he's supposed to do. But I don't think he'll be able to stay away. Like when it said something about like he keeps talking about the dreary and the rain and the gray and about the colors that are here on the island. And I think it will be like, I got exposed to this and I can't possibly go back. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I also think he's going to have some sort of like, have it out with him. There's going to be some sort of something.
I agree. I think something's going to be addressed. I just don't know if he'll do it in person. I don't know if he's going to be able to pull away from them, but I think if he does, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
How about you, Udi? Do you have any notions as to why you think his childhood makes him live so isolated and so rigid?
I think he's got a little bit of OCD in him. Like
Uh-huh.
he's got to stick to this structure.
Hmm.
And I think that him being in this area, like on this mission, is putting a different kind of structure in his life. And he sees that he likes it, and that I'm hoping that he goes to Dicomie and rips them a new one
Hmm.
and then comes home to Arthur and live happily ever after and raising all those kids. I really think that he's going to look out for the welfare of those kids.
Yes. I would even say the quote that Jameson shared about the bubble. I think his bubble has burst, you
I
know?
agree.
Yeah. It's going to change him on a core level.
Mhm.
How about you, Melody?
Okay, so I think I kind of agree with everybody that he didn't have a great childhood. And it, at work, he's treated poorly. A lot of times, I think when that happens to people, they develop these rigid rules in other areas of their life because it's something they can control. They can't control how they're being treated at work or how their parents are treating them. So they have to make up for that in other ways. So that's why he sticks to these rules because it's something that he can control and make his own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was probably bullied a bit too because he doesn't like to go outside. And I think, his house is his safe place because the outside world can't get to him in his home. Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
but as he's spending more time on the island and he's getting happier, he's, willing to let go of some of those rules. I've seen it happen in person. So, like I kind of get that.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
From his position, I almost wonder if he's struggled with his weight his entire life, the way
Yeah.
he's kind of like reverts back to it. And I feel like maybe not OCD, but it causes him to be hyper aware of everything. And like Emily said, he might be somewhere in the spectrum and finds comfort in those rules and regulations and pattern and safety and keeping himself as little exposed to stimulation as possible, it seems.
Yeah.
But now he's like super overstimulated. He's been thrown into like a huge thing. He's so much so he fainted. So it's just fascinating to see the way that he's adapting. How about you, Emily?
Well, like I had said, some of it is very reminiscent of my like ADHD need for routine. If I'm thrown off even by 5 minutes in my morning, I will be so late to work. Um, I have very specific ways I do things, but also, I mean, I think it's a direct result of his upbringing because everything that we see when we get that glimpse into how his like mother raised him, we see that she seems, at least from his perspective, kitty cat, to be sorry, to be very like removed, like not nurturing, not very affectionate or loving, very rule and regulation oriented herself. And it makes me wonder if that is possibly because he is not entirely human. Maybe he has some magical, or he is something else as well. That's something that I kind of, as I've been reading, kind of been thinking that there's something different about Linus because Arthur has mentioned it, and I think Chloe did too. They kind of have like hinted at things that he is unique, he is different, in his whole life and his whole job. He's like, there's nothing special about me. I'm this is all I am. So I think that her lack of kind of that compassion and that motherly nurturing that we expect to see has created this very regimented need for rules and routine, um, because he knows what is expected of him. And so I think that's also why he has a hard time when they give him the task. He has no idea what's coming. He struggles with not knowing those things because he doesn't know how to prepare himself for it.
He's extraordinarily brave. I do want to say that because if I was going into a situation that was unknown, being me, I don't know if I could have done it in the way that it was thrown at him. So I just want to point out, I really do think that he's brave, um, despite how uncomfortable he seems to be, even in his own being. And I think you might be onto something. I do think there might be something magical there. And you put a comment, I wanted to address this. I have it in my definition. Um, Dichotomy, it has a connotation, and the definition is so closely related. It means, okay, here we go. Dichotomy meaning a division or contrast between two things that are may or may not be represented as being opposed or entirely different. I'm wondering if it's something, it looks one way, but it's something else, is what that definition gave me about it. So it's supposed to be helping these magical creatures, but I'm wondering if it's harming them. I'm
Yeah,
just
we see that
curious.
we see that dichotomy when you're looking at the um, magical versus non-magical within the realm of the book. But I think that the we have the company as viewed in the beginning as like they're doing this good thing, and they view the magical beings as being dangerous. But that dichotomy is not what it seems. Yeah, I think, which is why I had said I think it's interesting that the acronym for the company is awfully close to that word.
Yes, yes, I'm so glad you picked up on that because that was something that really pulled me in this time. So I was going to go further into detail about a few other things. I'll be really curious to hear your opinion. Jameson, I want to hear your take on a little bit of the queer representation that he has, and if you think that has at all affected his isolation, because his mom said something to him about like drugs and girls and things like that, and he refers back to like girls were never going to be the problem. And I've asked last week, I just don't understand why it's not embraced more. Why is it like he's uncomfortable with Arthur's advancements? Do you think he's struggling with being queer?
I think maybe, but I don't feel like it's specifically that he struggles with being queer. I feel like everything Linus does is a trauma response. Like
Oh.
you learn how to live your life. Like it doesn't outright say that his mother was abusive, and maybe it was just that, like, because it doesn't mention his dad as far as I can see. Maybe it was just the kind of thing, like, because he mentions at one point um getting clothes that were too big because they're expensive and something, and so maybe she was just very cold and regimented, and he's even surrounded himself with people who don't really seem to like him. Like even his cat doesn't like him. Like, and he's almost like he's done this on purpose. Like he continues to talk to his neighbor who's just mean, and I just feel like he comes to this island where people are like, you're special and we like you, and he's like, no, that can't be true. um so I feel like I don't know, I just don't feel like it's that he's necessarily ashamed of being queer, because I mean his neighbor obviously knows that he's gay and he doesn't seem to want to keep that a secret. I just think it's the trauma response of being surrounded by people your whole life who didn't think you were special.
hmm hmm And there's like, you brought it to my attention recently. There is a comfort in being around people. If you're used to that, and that's what you've been told your whole life, you're a piece of shit. When somebody treats you like a piece of shit, it feels normal, feels like home.
Yeah.
You know, you opened my eyes to that. And so thank you for that. As always. How about you, Karen? Do you think that his upbringing has anything to do with his current disposition? And do you think he'll go back?
I definitely think that his childhood was very lonely, very and as you all have mentioned, that it appears like there might be a lot more to his story about what happened with his mom and where was his dad and why he didn't have any friends. There's and he chooses a life of solitude, and I think it's more because he's scared to open himself up to other people, um, instead of that he that he thinks of it. Well, I think, like you said, I don't think anybody really pays attention to him. So he just does his job, and but he gets treated horribly by the boss, but she appears to be an equal opportunity offender of that. So, um, but she has something out for Linus. And um,
Do you think he'll leave? Do you think he'll go back? Do you think he'll return or?
I think he'll go back because I think he has to finish his job. In his head, I think he has to finish it
Mm-hmm.
and try to ensure that um, the place doesn't get shut down. Um, because I think he cares about the kids and he cares about Arthur. And I think now that he's developing relationships with all of them, um, and which was very unexpected for him because he's normally like, I go in, I do my job, and I'm done. Um, but even when he would say that, I, in my back of my mind, was thinking he still cared about the kids and he worried about what happened to them when he left, even though he would say he didn't. He was like, well, that's not my responsibility, or that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. I still think that he felt sorry for the kids
Mm-hmm.
and was,
Related. He
yeah,
somehow relates to them in a weird way that hasn't really been explained yet. You know what I mean?
right. And that's why he's good at his job. I think, he's very, it appeared like some of the other orphanages that he went to, the kids connected with him and
Mm-hmm.
he just kind of shoved it off, like, that's, I can't get involved, it's not my job.
That's a really good
So
point.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that he'll come back because I don't think that he is done with the kids. I think it's like, to me, he kind of found his family, and I think he is, though he is still trying to open up to the kids and to Arthur, I think he's not sure how to handle them. I mean, he's not sure how to understand the closeness that they want to give him. And though he appreciates it and likes it, I don't think he knows how to handle it,
He's
like
suspicious
how to
of it.
express himself.
He's
Yeah.
become suspicious of it, almost paranoid. And that happens to me too, as somebody who experienced a lot of, I don't know, trauma, I guess what I would say. But like if somebody's nice to me too much and it's over kindness, I start to wonder, well, what ulterior motive do you have from this? What are you going to gain? Because I'm not worth being nice to. So what is in it for you? Type of thing. He's almost developing paranoia from it now. It's like we're seeing that with Arthur. I think you really brought out a lot of the thoughts on his character as far as that goes and how it's progressed. I wanted to touch on one thing. So I don't know if you guys know anything about TJ Klune, but he is queer and he's also chubby. I watched an interview with him. So I wonder if this is something that maybe he experienced in his own life, like finding his own type of family. And then what else I thought was really interesting, and I'll just tell you guys really quickly, because of the dichotomy thing, I looked up their names, the names of the characters, and what they mean. And so I'm just going to touch upon them really quickly because I wanted to ask your guys' opinion about something. So Talia means flourishing and blooming, dew from God. Theodore means a gift from God, a rarity, a gem. Thea means joy, lightness, and individuality. Thou means rescuer, powerful and meaningful, representing someone capable of saving others and making a difference in the world. Chauncey means luck and fortune and how lucky you are to be around that person. And then Lucy means light. So I didn't look up Lucifer because they don't very rarely call him that. And then it also means this baby will stand out from the crowd or this person. And then going a little further, Linus means flaxen haired. He's talked about his hair thinning multiple times and the cat licking it. It also derives from Greek mythology, and it means he was the son of Apollo and he was a musical genius. and he's obsessed with music. I found that really interesting. And then Arthur means strong as a bear, specifically a bear hero, and it means courageous and noble. And then finally, Zoe means to give life and grow. So my question was outside, because there's so many layers and so many metaphors in this book, so many. Do you think these were their given names? Or do you think when they came to Arthur, he let them pick a name or he gave them a name? I'm really curious your thoughts on that. And we'll start back with Karen. Do you think they came here with this name or they changed it?
You know what? I didn't think about that, about whether their names were
Because you
they're different.
can, as somebody who has had some experience with foster care, you can change your name. You can become somebody new. You can start over. You are given that choice. I just wonder if that changed for them. And because of the dichotomy thing, it really pulled my attention to it. What do you think, Jameson?
There you go. I didn't consider it. I didn't consider it from a book point of view. I just considered it, I think I was considering it from a writer point of view. I'm like, oh, he did that on purpose. Because you don't ever name a character anything accidentally. So I didn't really think about it from like the story point of view. It would make sense if they chose those names, um, or if Arthur helped them choose them. I think that makes sense considering what they mean, though.
Yeah. How about you, Emily? I know you picked up on that economy thing. I'm wondering if you noticed, and you're a writer, if you noticed that.
I 100% noticed the meanings of the names. That's why I just said no character name is accidental. None. So anytime I read a book, I always look up the names, because when I write mine, I do the same thing. Like, so yes, so any of my elementals within my fantasy work, it always has something to do with them, and usually their power or their elemental, spirit. I didn't consider that maybe they got to pick. I have experience with foster kids as well. My family was a foster family, so we've had a lot. Um, but I didn't consider that. That is an interesting perspective on whether or not Arthur would allow them to. But I mean, it would kind of make sense, except for in the fact that because we have Lucy or Lucifer, who is considered the quote Antichrist, um,
That was my
from a
only,
biblical, yeah, from a
yeah.
biblical perspective, I mean, you would call Lucifer, which is, which means bringer of light. Um, Having been a fallen angel, biblically speaking, that would make sense. Um, So I don't know, but that is a very interesting perspective to take on whether or not that would have been some. I wonder if we find that out though, because I mean, I didn't read ahead this time, so I don't know.
Yeah, okay. You heard
Oh,
Chihuahua Karen. We
Chihuahua!
have to know who this is. Let's introduce the baby.
This is Maui. He is,
Oh,
I guess, somewhat of a teacup chihuahua. He weighs like 5 pounds. He has
I
no
love the
teeth right
tongue.
now. He has no teeth, so that's why his tongue hangs out.
yeah. The
My
signature
chihuahuas did
Chihuahua.
the same thing. My chihuahua did the same thing when she lost her teeth. Hers
Yeah.
were all out. Her tongue was always out on the side. I love it. I love it.
Oh, so cute. I have a Chihuahua named Mary Jane, and Jameson has the biggest Chihuahua with the cutest eyebrows ever. We love dogs here, so they're always welcome to join in. So that's adorable. And I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Emily. I think you were done. Is it okay to move to Melody? How about you, Melody? Did you give any considerations? He's trying to bloom individuality in each child. I wonder if he had any influences over their names or anything like that. I know Lucy will probably be the exception.
I don't believe they did at all. Um, Only because Dykemy wouldn't let them. Their
Mhm.
names are that in the files. They wouldn't go by the names that the kids chose. They would go by the names that they already had because they don't want to give them any more identity. Arthur would probably be perfectly fine with them choosing whatever name they wanted, but the government would not allow that.
That's interesting. And they even said he had their papers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is an excellent point that I didn't take it. So this must be a writer intensive point, which I have never, and I read a lot, guys. I never correlated that before. So Udi, did you have any input? Because I know you've been through foster care and being adopted. Is your name your birth name?
So my birth mother actually had enough time to name me before they took me away, but my adoptive family did change my name. So my birth name was Tanya, and I can't remember what she said my middle name was. But Tanya Vetter was my name. And the last name they chose for me, he wasn't even my biological father. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I can't even remember my biological father's last name, but his first name was Thomas. But yeah, my adoptive parents decided to change my name because they want my adoption was closed, like everything was closed. I couldn't find my biological family until I was 18, and I had to go and petition the court and have my stuff released in order to find them. But
Wow.
yeah, I like that they changed my name.
Yeah, I do too. I just was wondering your feelings on it from being in that experience. And thank you for being so vulnerable. And yes, Udi fits you perfectly. It's just awesome. Robin, are you able to talk or are you up? Oh, you're
Yeah,
there.
I can talk. He's just, yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
You
so
got like five balls in the air as always. I know, but you roll with it.
he's always like, I'm always like, oh, maybe I'll be able to go to my book club and not be like stuck to my Velcro baby. But no, of course not.
Oh,
It's fine. I agree with Melody. And I also actually looked up their names. I am a little bit obsessed with meanings of names. And so I looked up their names as well. And I assumed that it was an author thing for the same reason that Emily said, like when she said that, you know, nothing in the story is accidental. And so I think especially even more so like when you read fantasy books, because you have to create the whole world and you have to make sure that things in this world make sense. And so I think fantasy writers, even more so than any other genre, um, probably do things more on purpose. But also, I had not thought about it being in the story, but I think what Melody said made sense. I don't think that Daikmi would allow children to change their names, or if they did want to change their names, they would 100% dead name them all times. So
excellent point. Excellent point. I'm really late to the show on this, and I read so many fantasy books. So you guys will have to forgive me. I just saw so many metaphors, and I was like, there's got to be something to this, and I wanted to hear your guys' take. So I appreciate you guys educating me on this. I probably will never be able to read another book without looking up people's name meaning. Stephanie, how about you? Did it occur to you at all, or did you were just like, these are their names and rolled with it?
So I figured there had to be something about it, why they were named what they were. I did not look up the meaning of the names though, but I do agree. I really do not think that Daikomi would allow that because they're making the magical beings be registered, and I doubt they would want them to change their names so they can actually keep track of them and maybe some other stuff. Yeah, it's just a whole shady business, honestly. I just don't like them at all.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I agree. I agree. So for a fun question, two of them, Melody asked if you could have dinner with any of the characters, who would it be? And then in conjunction with that, I'm going to combine one of my questions in if you could be any magical creature or have any magical ability, what would it be? And we'll start with Stephanie. So the first part is who would you have dinner with?
That's a hard one. I mean, I would want to have dinner with Arthur, of course, but I think it would also be fun to kind of have dinner with Chauncey too, just to kind of hear his backstory. I don't know what it is with him. I'm just drawn to his character, I guess. I really am. And I forget the second part you were saying.
If you could be, well, first I can tell you why you're drawn to Chauncey. You are nothing but love and light and positivity, and so is he. I think you find a camaraderie in him, and it is extremely endearing and one of my favorite things about you. So,
Oh, thank
um, and you're very enthusiastic about your dreams, and you never let anybody get in your way, even your own medical issues. You still fight for what you want. So, and that's very his character. So I can see why you're drawn to him. But if you could be any magical creature or have any magical ability, what would you want it to be?
oh gosh, I've thought about that plenty of times. So I am actually getting a phoenix tattooed on my thigh, and I've gotten part of it done. So I've always been drawn to the phoenix, honestly. I have because just rebirth, something new, you're reinventing yourself. I need to read more into the legend or the theory of Phoenix to see what else I can glean off of that. So that's something I'm actually going to do. I'm going to look it up and kind of see what the lore says.
I did that for this conversation. So we may get to that. But I can see that. I've seen you literally turn to ash and be reborn 3 times since I've known you. So that is very fitting for you. How about you, Robin?
Can I just have dinner at the house? Like I'll
Yes, you
just join.
can.
Like because I don't think I could pick one. Like they're all so interesting. And I also love the way that they interact. Like there's like the way like when Lucy calls Sal his brother, and like there's another point where I think they are eating dinner, and Chauncey like puts his eyeball stalks on Talia's shoulder, and like I'm like I would just love to see their whole like interaction and just be a part of that. That's what I would like.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So what magical creature would you want to be, or what kind of power would you want?
So I think I mentioned this last week, but I have always wanted to be a shapeshifter. I always thought that would be like it's just like the coolest.
Hmm.
I don't like power. And when I was growing up, I was referred to as like a chameleon because I fit into all the groups. And I remember in high school, like I was a cheerleader, but I was also a theater geek, and I was also, like I was also a smart kid, and so like I never had like my own clique because I just went from group to group. And so I just think that would suit me.
I do too. So that's so interesting because when you ran the meeting the first time, my wife asked me, like, do you think that, she's going to be okay? Should I stay home? Whatever. I'm like, she adapts to everything. She's
Yeah,
going to roll with it. I don't care if there's like baby disaster or whatever. She's going to be fine. I have full faith that the chameleon really
there
fits.
was.
Yeah, you're just gonna just keep trucking along.
Yes, I'm highly adaptable.
Yeah, that's a really, really good I wish I was more adaptable. So that I envy that a lot. How about you, Udi? Who would you go to dinner with and what magical creature or magical ability?
Okay, first off, I'm going to comment on your adaptability. You're 100% correct. She did amazing her first meeting. I hands down applaud her. I love you, Robin. You're amazing. But if I would definitely like to see them as a whole as well, but one-on-one, I really like Lucy. I really do. He's my go. I love his dark humor, and like he knows that he can be bad,
Yeah.
but he is choosing to be good. And I love that redemption in him. Um, and as for a magical creature, I don't know. I kind of like invisibility just because I like to not be seen at times. Um, but also I would love to be able to like talk to animals. That would be and be able to communicate with them
Your own little
and
Dr. Doolittle.
my own, yeah, exactly. My own little Dr. Doolittle, exactly.
Yeah,
I
I
mean
love
that's
that.
my dream is to have a my own little rescue of all animals. So
Yes,
that I think that would be my magical power is talking to animals and finding out how I can help them and
I love
because
that.
they're so innocent. They don't know
Right.
any better.
No, I love that. I love that. I didn't even consider that when I was thinking about them. So, that's so cool. At my vet, I go to a vet that has like a witchy side and Western medicine side, and there's a pet communicator there. We haven't used it, but she is available, and she speaks to animals and can tell you what animals are feeling. So, anyway, that
I
is
know
something you could.
exactly what you mean. I actually when I was in eighth grade, my aunt was doing her PhD, and I did a whole thing on horse whisperers, and I got to interview one, and dude, it was freaking cool.
It's
And
fascinating.
they're so empathetic, dude. Like they feel you.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. How about you, Melody? Who would you go to dinner with, and then magical power or magical creature?
All right, I would definitely go to dinner with Lucy. He's hilarious. I love like his dark sense of humor. But on the other hand, I might have a member of Daikami over for dinner just so I could poison them. Um,
Okay.
Linus's boss, but somebody higher up. Like, let's just start knocking them out.
Yeah.
Um, Magical abilities. It's not deep or anything, but I think I'd like to fly because it would make travel so much easier.
Absolutely. Teleportation is definitely up there on my list.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Instead of
And
spending 12 hours on a plane, I could be there in, just a few minutes. It'd be great.
fascinating fact about phoenixes, they're able to do that.
Well,
That is
I work.
one of when I look them up, one of their abilities. That's one thing that Arthur can do.
Hmm.
So that's interesting that you brought that up. There's several that they can do. How about you, Emily? Who would you want to go to dinner with? And then magical power or creature?
Uh, Lucy, would 100%. I think he's so misunderstood. And as somebody who has been often misunderstood, I think I would be able to relate to that. And it's interesting, everybody keeps saying Phoenix. I actually have a Phoenix feather tattoo. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Which I got the year I turned 45, so last year. It was my gift to myself. Yeah, just I've survived a lot. So, and it's also a phoenix is used in one of my favorite books ever of all time, which is Fahrenheit 451. It is used as the symbol of society and its fall and rise. And
Ooh.
so because that's been a theme throughout my whole life, yeah, definitely Phoenix.
Will you send me a link for that book and my
Yeah,
DM? Yeah.
yeah, it's Ray Bradbury.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
How about you, Jameson? I'm curious. Who would you want to have dinner with?
Oh, I love Lucy so much, but probably Sal. I love that that writer, poet soul in that he's obviously big and intimidating, but when he gets scared, he turns into the smallest, fluffiest, cuddly little I don't know. I have a soft spot. I have the tendency to think that I can rescue everyone and everything, and I have to tell myself to not do that, but it would probably be Sal.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
we could write together.
Uh-huh. I
Uh,
see big correlations between the personalities there. Big
yeah,
ones.
I love Lucy and his sense of humor, and he makes me laugh, and I love it. But probably Sal, if I had to pick one.
And then how about magical creature or magical ability?
I would 100% be a vampire. I've said this for most of my life. I would be a vampire. Um, because women would never, ever, ever, ever again have to worry about being safe at night anywhere where that's just I
Yeah.
would like a Dexter vampire. That's
Oddly enough, I'm ice cold. I'm pale white. My eyes are yellow. Ever since Twilight, people have asked me over and over, "Are you a vampire? Is that your secret?" But yeah, I can definitely see that being something that I'm very drawn to, which is why I thought Arthur had that in him. So I can definitely see that. And the Sal correlation so many times, like the paper poem, totally reminded me of you.
I also kind of thought maybe before they said that Arthur was a vampire, but I was like, oh no, Phoenix, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. How about you, Karen? Who would you choose to go to dinner with?
I agree with a lot of the what Udi and some of the other people said about Lucy. I have a 2.5-year-old grandson who is the light of my life. And he I just think of like he's in this age where like he'll just look at you and like give you that smirk, like he knows he wants to do something bad, and you're trying not to laugh when he when he wants to do it. So I think with Lucy, I feel like that connection with him is that, like a lot of people said, he knows he can be bad, but he's not. And I loved the relationship between him and Arthur, and that he wants to, he says he's a bad, you know, Lucifer, but he has to sleep in right next to Arthur, and he has to be close to him, and he has to be close to the others. And then you see as he gets through the book, like how nice he truly is to his
Sibling.
siblings, you
Yes.
know. I mean, so I really liked that. I liked when they went on the outing, and
He puts his
he was
arm.
like, I'm willing to give you my money and all
Yeah,
this kind of stuff. I was like, I thought that was so adorable.
he is. And then what magical creature would you be, or what magical gift would you want?
I like the invisibility. I would like to um I don't know, be the fly on the wall, like kind of like hear
Yes.
what everybody's saying, but not be seen.
Yeah, so I've asked quite a few people this question, and invisibility is always at the top of the list. I don't know why that's never been a desire for me. I'm not sure what that says about me. But I do find it fascinating be able to be behind the scenes. I get that. And it's my wife's chosen one. For me, I would have dinner with Zoe. I would want to know everything she knows about this land and Arthur and what she saw and just like all the backstory and how she stayed off the radar of the economy. I kind of have a little low-key crush on her, just really drawn to her protectiveness and her motheringness, and I just my vibe. And then if I could have a magical power, and I feel like she may have a little bit of it, is to be able to heal people, both physically, emotionally, whatever ailment by touch to take away any type of pain or illness. And then since it's almost 9 o'clock, I thought we could do a thumbs up question on Udi's. Do you think Helen will act on her words in regards to the children being welcome in the mainland? And do you think she has the power to change that? So I'm really curious if you think she's true to her word. That's one part. So for me, it's a thumbs up. I think she's genuine, right? Do we think, though, that she can employ that? For me, I'm struggling with that. Yeah, I'm really, really trying. I'm hoping, Robin, and you are always holding on to hope. I swear, we're exact opposites. I'm always a pessimist. You're always an optimist. I really, really hope for the kids' sake. And then the last thing is we're going to finish the book, Eternal Optimist. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to show you the other side of the coin, I'm afraid. And then we have Emily, who's our resident realist. So, we're going to finish the book, and then I'll make all kinds of announcements this week about all the fun things coming up. We're going to be voting on the book. So if you haven't had a chance to nominate one, you'll be able to. We'll take the vote. And then I will see you guys all next week. I'll probably announce on Thursday or Friday. I always try to do something fun and special for ending the book to celebrate another book that we've completed. So I'll let you guys know what that is as well. Does anybody have any questions, concerns? We're good?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. I love seeing you and love hearing your thoughts. I can't wait to finish this with you. All my love and light and happy reading.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.